everyone, I'm Aanchal Sharma, your educator. In this video, we are going to discuss about another Indian poet, and today we are going to discuss about Gieve Patel. So let us know something about Gieve Patel, and this picture in front of you is of Gieve Patel. Gieve Patel was born on 18th August 1940, and he is an Indian poet as well as a playwright, and he is a very prominent painter as well. And he is also a physician. So he belongs to a group of writers who have been subscribed themselves and who call themselves under the green movement, which is involved as an effort to protect the environment. So you will see that all the poetry, mostly all the poetry that Gieve Patel will be writing will be around the theme of environment. So he is someone who subscribed themselves in the green movement, that is for the protection of the environment. He was born on 18th August 1940. He is an Indian poet, a playwright, a painter as well, and he is a physician also. So Patel currently lives in Bombay, and he began writing at the age of 18, which is a young age in which he started to write. His first significant poetry appeared in Quest. So there you see that there are some poetry collections, or you can see there are some anthologies in which the poetries are published, and this magazine Quest is very famous, and Gieve Patel's poem first significantly appeared in the collection of Quest. So his poems appeared in Quest. Also they appeared in Poetry India. They appeared in Bombay, Young Commonwealth Poems, Pen, Asian Anthology. Pen is an ancient Asian anthology which is very famous. Then Writers Workshop Miscellany, Calcutta, Times of India also. So his poetry has been published in Times of India, in the poetry, in the book, in the magazine Chandrabhaga, in Indian Express as well, Falcrum, and other poetry collections are also there in which the poems of Gieve Patel have been published. So all the purpose of me just showing this is that his poetry is very famous, very contemporary, and because he is writing with the motive of protecting the environment, it is also published in some newspapers, some magazines, some anthologies, and he was someone who also prescribed himself as a poet who is striking and movement, striking for the green movement, and he's writing for conserving the environment. So three of his poetry collections are very famous, and these are poems. It came out in 1988. How Do You Withstand Body in 1976, and we have Mirroring, and that came out in 1991. So you should know about these three poetry collections, and these collections of verse poems are very famous. I would repeat: poems, it came out in 1966. How Do We Withstand Body, it came out in 1976. Then we have Mirroring, it came out in 1991. So he has also written three plays that were famous. Prince, it came out in 1971. Savaska, it came out in 1982. And Mr. Behram, it came out in 1987. Now let us discuss something about the three poetry collections. So Poems is Patel's first significant volume of verse poetry that he has written, of verses that he has written, and it was the first and the only book that was issued by Naseem Ezekiel. So it is Naseem Ezekiel, another very famous Indian poet, who has issued this book called as Poems. So it's a collection of poetry, and these poetry are written by Gieve Patel. It came out in the year 1966, and it was issued by Naseem Ezekiel. Then How Do You Withstand Body? Patel's second volume of verse, How Do You Withstand Body, was published under the Clearing House imprint. Also, there are about 32 poems in it. There are 32 poems in it which were published in different newspapers and different magazines like Times of India, the Illustrated Weekly of India, Deobar, and it was also published in Fulcrum. So he is a very contemporary poet, and all of his themes are very contemporary. So these poetries are published in newspapers as well as in different very famous magazines also. So this was his poetry collection, How Do You Withstand Body? Then we have Mirrored Mirroring. Mirrored Mirroring is Patel's latest volume of verse. It was published under the Oxford University Press in Madras. It deals either with his social concerns that are noticed in the poetry, and also it is concerned with human violence, as he has noticed in other poetry collections, like How Do You Withstand Body. So basically, what are the themes that he is talking in these different poetry collections? He is talking about the environment, he's talking about the concern that the social problems that we have, or the human violence, or the problems that humans are creating on the environment. So these are basically the themes. Very famous poems or very famous works are licensed. Mirrored Mirroring, it's a poetry in English. Then How Do You Withstand, poetry collection poems. Then On Killing a Tree. Then we have Nargol, Servants. Then other are as follows. So these are few famous poetry works that are written by Gieve Patel. The enduring concern, and now what are the themes? Let us discuss that of, and these are broadly the themes that he will be dealing with in the other anthologies and in the other poems also. The enduring concern of Patel's poetry are his word and his love for the different terrain of human body and its frailty. He talks about the absurdity, he talks about the perishability of the human body. So he talks that human body is very fragile. It is, there are some adverse conditions and human will absurdly react to all of these conditions. So he talks about how frailty is there, how much absurdity is there, and how much perishability is there in a human body. The vulgar social inequalities of caste and the class that continue to assail the post-independence India are few of the themes that he will talk about. So he talks about the hardships one goes through because they are from different class, creed. So you see that he, being a painter, is very observant, and he will just sit there near the train and sketch different paintings. He'll see the different class structures, different class boundaries, and he will observe the things, and similarly he will pen them down in the form of poems as well. Perennially, it is relegated to the, you can say, the slideness of the history and the art, and there are the daily catalogues of the violence also. So he'll see that on the daily basis there are few violence cases, there are some predicament of the subaltern that he wants to write about, there are few people who are not having their own voice and they need to come forward and talk about it. Conflict and pain that makes up the century's folk song. Then you'll see that he's writing about the lampooning shadow of the physical death that goes on. So maybe your soul is very tired and just it's a lampooning death that goes on. He's talking about different curiosity, and he's talking about how the world is fighting against the materiality, how there is material circumstances and there is no heed paid to the human soul, and human soul is just fighting between different classes, between different class, creed, color, sex, and then there are few subalterns who have no right to talk about. And in this post-independence India, we are grappling and we are trying to fight against all of these problems. There are concerns related to the human body, how absurd the human body is, and how we are sandwiched between different scenarios, right? So these are few themes that he talks about. Also, you cannot forget that he, being in a green movement, a propagator of green movement, talks about environment also, and how the reckless activities of human are deteriorating the environment, and how much solace we can get from the environment only. So there is this poetry, On Killing a Tree by Gieve Patel. Let us discuss it. So On Killing a Tree by Gieve Patel is a poem that describes how a tree is cut, chopped, axed, and then it is oblivious for the years that he has taken in growing. So people are just coming recklessly cutting the tree, and they are oblivious of how much the tree is giving them and how many years it has taken to grow up, and how much deep the roots are into the earth, and how the branches are being, giving shade to the people who are traveling. They don't see that how cool shade, how much beautiful the tree is, and they cannot even understand that the tree is someone who gives them the cool shade, adding that there are some canopies of branches and how much beautiful the tree looks. Also, the beauty of the sky, the green color that it gives is so beautiful. It is easy to cut and it will one day fall off, but it is not easy to rear it for so long. So it is so easy to just one day come and axe the tree, but it takes so much time to grow a tree, so much effort, and it is just because of the human activities that the nature is destroying. Here the poet speaks about his love for the trees, which are but a part of our own environment in which we live. Can we cut our connections with the tree is a question that Gieve is talking about. Gieve Patel is wanting you to question that, can you imagine your environment, or can you imagine your life without a tree? How many things a tree provide you, but you recklessly come and just cut the beautiful branches. This poetry also reminds us of Dilip Chitre's banyan tree, a poetry in which he keeps on talking about banyan tree and how pretty and how beautiful the trees are, and who are we to at least just come here and recklessly cut the trees, right? So this is one poetry that he talks about. Now about his painting. So as I told you, he was also an artist, and being a keen observer, he used to paint a lot. So Patel's painting received public attention when he had painted the series of the political pictures. So this series is called as the political series, and it came out in late 1980s and in early 70s. After the political series, he has also, it is seen that he has also written, or he has also painted the railway platform series, right? So these paintings had originally been experienced when he was sitting on a bench on a subterranean or on a subculture near the railway station and watching the trains arrive and depart. So in a suburban railway station, he was just sitting and he observed that there are few trains arriving and departing, and there are different people recklessly moving. Some are just sitting there, some are smoking cigarettes. So you will see that these paintings are very much related to a platform scene and very much related to the political scenarios of that time. So there are two series very important. There is a political series and there is the railway platform series, and around 1960s to early 1970s he was someone who was painting these. A very similar atmosphere of mystery and peace can also be seen in the other city based images that he drew, and he has painted these city based paintings as well, called as Two Men Near a Handcraft, Vegetable Seller, Bus Stop, The Letter Home, etc. are few of his best works and notable works that he has drawn. So these paintings can be seen by how the painter works on two different aspects at the same time. So he is working, looking curiously at the world, he is observing the world, and he is also drawing it. So you will see that how much in depth he knows about human body. So this is one painting, A Letter Home. It came out in 2002. It is by Gieve Patel. You can look at the picture minutely and you will see that there are these two men, one elder and one of course younger, sitting together, and he is writing something. So he will grasp the images and he will completely just draw it, and it takes you and it transposes you to the world of the painting also. So this is why Gieve Patel was very famous. Let us quickly revise. So as I told you, Gieve Patel was born in 1940s, and he is writing because he is writing in this post independence era, and how much our country is changing and how much the human body is still struggling between different classes and between different class, caste, creed, etc. Also, he has subscribed himself to this green movement and writes so many poetry related to environment, because he thinks that because of our activities, we are somewhere disturbing the environment. Three of his very known poetry collections are poems, How Do You Withstand Body, and The Mirror Mirroring. And all of these have different amounts of poems in it, and it talks about either the environment or about the human frailty and absurdity of our own life. He has also written 3 plays, and these are Prince, Savaska and Mr. Behra, right? So these are the important works of Gieve Patel, a poet and also a painter, and a very renowned one, right? So I hope you like what I had for you, and if you have any doubt, you can write it in the comment section and I'll surely reply to you. Thank you.